Morning class, welcome to the studio of Holy Stones. We are Ken and Linda Deneen, lapidaries and jewelers. Today we're going to be introducing you to the fundamentals of lapidary. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, and we don't want to make this any harder than it absolutely has to be. We're looking for simple, easy, and quick, so that we can get a good result. The first thing that we're going to do is make what every artist is familiar with, and that's a viewfinder. So the way that we're doing this is I'm using an art paper, but it's a kind of a plastic paper. So you want a heavy stock, about 1.5 inches width. And we're gonna come on down. I'm just gonna draw a really quick line here, and I'm making an L. How simple is this? It's just really simple. 1 L. Now I'm going to make my second L. Say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, this thing is going to really help us when we start orienting stones. So I'm going to cut this out really quickly, and we're not looking for absolute perfection here. This is not about shape as much as it is about convenience and being able to block out all the superfluous information, stuff that we absolutely don't need. So we're cutting the L's out. You can make your own joke out of that. Here we go. So we've cut our section out, and these L's fit together just like this. We take a couple of paper clips. Oh, how simple is this? And we clip them together. This is, and I know there are hundreds of things like this out there. This is one of the easiest things you can come up with, and what I can do with this is make it any size that I want to. I can expand it, shrink it, it doesn't make any difference. So this is just really cheap, really convenient. We're after simple, effective, and that means cost effective as well. Well, you're saying, what the heck is that for? Well, for today's exercise and orienting a stone, I have chosen a slab of Outback Pink Opal from Australia. And the reason that I've chosen this is that it's a soft stone. Running right around 5.5 on the Mohs scale, but it has patterns in it. And so when we are beginning to think about cutting a cabochon, the first thing we need to be aware of is what's the application. So today, for this application, let's be thinking about a piece that will be bezel set. It's a soft stone, so we want to protect the stone. We're going to do a bezel set, and we're going to do a pendant. That means that people will see it below eye level. When it is on your client or wife or daughter or friend or whatever, it's going to be below the eye level of the person viewing that pendant. So that's going to matter in the perspective. So I want to take a moment. And the other thing is that when you've got a piece of stone, particularly if the pattern's more subtle, you may want a spray bottle nearby to wet it down. This is dry, and because the pattern's fairly bold, I'm going to go ahead and leave it dry. But I want to think not like a lapidary, I want to think like a painter, like an artist. I am looking for pattern that is going to be interesting. And one of the first things I notice is that I'm going to want a shape that's just a little bit more interesting than just a plain rectangle or an oval. So because this is a pretty straightforward stone, I'm going to look for something that has some subtle pattern, some interesting pattern, and I'm just going to play with my stone. And this, I know cutters that'll walk around with a stone in their pocket for days before they will determine how they want that pattern to be and how they cut it. And this is for the very first stone. Obviously, in a stone like this, I can get many cabs out of it. But I'm going to start by trying to pick something that's going to be visually interesting. with some marks in the stone that make it not too boring. I'm going to mark this section out right here, because I'm thinking that what we may be going to do may be a rounded flame cut coming down through here, accenting it. One of the things that we get really tired of are a million oval cabs, squares. It isn't that they're bad, it's just that there's more to rock than that, and particularly for a designer piece of jewelry. So I'm thinking that I'm going to work with this pattern right in here. I like what's going on up here. This is kind of interesting. I think we may be able to do something here. So having marked this out, and one of the nice things that you can also do, and I don't need to do it on this soft stone, but for hard stones, you just want to get some aluminum, thick aluminum wire, heavy, solid aluminum wire. Pick it up at the hardware store. Snip yourself off a piece, file one end of it to a point. It becomes your marker, because when you get the stone wet, the aluminum will come off on the stone, leaving a mark until you grind it away that the water doesn't obliterate. On pencil, the water tends to just obliterate it. But I don't really need to do that, so since I had the pencil in my hand, that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, right now, we're going to go cut this stone out. Okay, we're going to hand this piece over to Ken, and he'll do the cutting on it.
I want to cut so that I can save as much material to make more cabs with. I'm going to cut this line first. See, I'm outside of the line just a little bit to give me a little cushion. That's actually a little bit too close, but let's try to fix that on this cut. Okay, so we had a crumble, break apart there. So
Let's show it on camera. You want to be able to see where it broke.
Adjust.
There.
So
you're going to cut again, and you're going to come inside that line.
So, well, depending on the shape of the flame, we might not need that part right there anyway. So I'm just going to continue as if nothing happened. The cab right there, probably. So I'm a little off, but that's the idea. Okay, this stone crumbled a little bit when we cut it on the saw, which is pretty typical of a brittle stone like this. So there's a little pop here, and there's a pop here with the edge going backwards. I've determined this side is going to be the face of the stone, and I'm just gonna try to mark out a shape that's pleasing and that uses the most part of the pattern that we wanted to get into the stone. So I've got a flame shape I'm gonna do. I'm going to bring it down and make it make a flame.
Kick that in deeper. That needs to be deeper. More pronounced.
And we want to keep it.
And come down further into the pink. Come down into about here.
So this is the general outline of a cab that's going to get shaped into a more pleasing shape than this crude drawing on the stone is. I'm going to buzz these edges off with the saw and try not to cause any more problems such as this. We are at saw. I'm going to trim the edges. I'm going to leave a little extra room because I can take that off with the grinder on the pixie. So I'm just doing rough. This saw tilts so that there's an angle cut to the stone that is sort of self-help for when we set it in a bezel. It'll I don't have to grind as much off if I get that angle on the saw.
What's that angle, Ken?
That's about a 30-degree angle.
Is actually shaving the stone using the side of the saw blade as much as he's using the face of the
blade. It's going to be quite narrow for a flame shape. But it should be pretty. And that's all I'm going to do on the saw. I'm going to take it back to the pixie.
Talk for me. Ken likes to work on a pixie because he has back trouble, and this way he can sit down and be fairly comfortable. So he likes this small machine even when he's doing fairly large cabs. What we're going to do now is silhouette the stone, or literally make a cartoon, just the rough, hard edges. No refining of the cabochon yet. We just want to get a really nice even girdle, a 30-degree slant from the face to the back of the cab for bezel setting. And so that's what we're going to work on, and refine it in shape so that it's well balanced and pleasing to the eye.
So here I go. I'm working on the 220 grit because it's such a soft stone. I don't want to go on the 80 and it's brittle. I don't want it to crack or to abrade away. So I'm going to use the 220, and I'm just using the curve of the wheel to put the flame curve into the stone first. I just kind of get the general idea of where I want the edges of the stone to be. Smooth out any rough edges so I can see what I'm working with. And shape it so that I am ready to go on to the next stage and dome it in the next phase of the project. this direction a little bit. I'm going to correct down here. Just kind of look at the stone and try to orient the shape as best you can.
Hold the cab still, just like what you were doing before. Go ahead and put as though you were working on the angle. Put it back on there. Now, stop. Pull it off the wheel, but no. What I want people to see is that it is not a 90-degree coming off the wheel. That the stone is coming off at an angle so that it is putting that 30-degree angle on it. And that's just that simple.
And it's a matter of keeping it even all the way around, or else you'll have a wavy kind of a
Yeah, you don't want an uneven girdle.
And it requires some skill to get it
Practice.
even.
Also, when you're working with a large soft stone, dopping it is almost more trouble than it's worth. So we're doing this by hand, not using a dop stick. Dop stick becomes really critical when you're doing a small, say an 11 by 14 cab or something in that size range, so that it can be even, and it's just too hard to hold with your fingers. But when you're doing a large piece, and this one's probably 45 millimeters long by 19 mil wide, that's plenty big enough to hold it in your hand. Right now he's pressing that concave curve of the flame tip, and he's using the natural 4-inch wheel diameter to press that in. We also have the 6-inch genie wheels available, and then we have 8-inch grinding wheels available to make it even larger curve if we wanted to. But this is going to be perfect on the 4-inch. Go ahead and make that flame cut a little deeper in there, a little more aggressive in there. So that you've got a really nice swoop. Yeah, beautiful.
Just want to keep the bottom looking proportional or aligned with the top so that it's centered pretty well.
Don't forget to move the top of the flame in now that you've moved the back in so far.
What needs to happen?
Well, you've got an undercut here. See, it's much deeper there, but out here at the top on the face, it's out over it. You've got to cut back quite a little bit now to get your 30-degree back again. Well, one of the ways that you'd like to check this is to put it down on a flat surface. Put your eye straight down on the piece, and you should be able to see the back of the cabochon from the front of the cabochon because it's slightly tilted out. If you cannot do that, then you need to take some of the face away.
Got a little uneven here on this edge.
Yeah, you're going to have to come in a little further probably.
Reshape the bottom to align with the top of the stone and balance it. Just kind of meet the shape in the middle that way.
And then take the pencil marks off of it too before you're finished with this step so that they don't interfere.
Okay, so I'm happy with the shape.